Hello my creative friends, hope you're doing well today. Thanks so much for joining me on my YouTube channel once again, or if you're on my website you're watching this YouTube video, thank you for joining me. So you love gel printing just like I do, and you've done a whole bunch of beautiful gel prints and you had a blast, and then you just tell yourself, now what do I do with all of these pages? Well, you could just leave them as pages as they are and just journal on them. You could create greeting cards, you could use them as collage paper, all sorts of things. But one really cool thing you could do with them is create a little book, a gel print book or a gel print art journal. Let me show you the one I did before. I showed you all the contents in a previous video, so make sure to check that out. But why not make a little book like this one? It's super simple, and you know, you can art journal in it quite easily. The pages fairly stay flat fairly well, so it's a pretty cool way to use them all up and create something really funky. So let me show you how I did this. So the obvious first step is going to choose which gel prints you want to put in your journal. And once you've selected a whole bunch of them, this one's got about 20 pages all up, this being counted as one page. So it's up to you how many you want to put in there. This format is completely expandable, so you could do a skinny journal or a skinny book, or a really fat journal twice as big if you wanted to. It's really up to you. And before I go any further, I wanted to mention that Birgit Kupsen's video was one that inspired me. I like to give credit to whoever has inspired me, so she was the one who inspired me to do something like this. I just put my own little twist to it. So you've got your gel prints ready to go. Now you're just going to want to cut them out. So basically for something like this, I use the the metric system. So these pages are A4 and this is A6 size, which is a quarter of this page. So you are going to want to cut your page into 4 pieces that are of equal size. So cut them all up, you'll end up with a bunch of much smaller pages like these. And then once you've done that, you're ready to move on to step 2. And I just wanted to make sure that you understand this kind of book is not meant to be extremely precise in any way. As you can see, it doesn't quite line up everywhere, mostly, but not everywhere, and that's okay. It's not meant to be a perfect book. We are not machines, so please take that pressure off your shoulders right away. And if things are a little bit shorter here and there, it doesn't matter, just go with it. It's meant to be slightly a bit of a junky journal. So if you want to go with single pages like these, you will need to cut your larger piece of paper, this is A4 size, into 4. If you wanted to have little spreads like this instead, then you'll just cut your page in half into A5 size for us who use the metric system. So decide on that. Before we go any further, I will show you the next step, so you can decide if one is too much work for you and you'd rather go with a simpler approach. So if you have the spreads, you'll end up with pages like this that you will need to stick back to back together. So in between here, we'll put glue, stick them together, and then same thing, stick them together, and they will add up, and we'll end up with pages that turn like these. Now, if you have, this is okay if you only did a gel print and the background is plain white or just ugly and you don't really care about losing it. But when I did my first journal here, all my prints were actually double-sided, so I didn't want to lose all my good stuff. So basically what I did is I cut the gel prints into 4 instead, so I ended up with, just pretend that they're all part of the same page. Let's say these 4. And what I did is then glue them back to back. Back to back like this. And then later on, I join them in the center with some tape. So in the end, you know, your pages will look like this. Basically like this. So decide which way you want to go first, or if you want to do a mix of them. I might do a mix of them, and then we'll just join again together once we've cut all our pages. Let's do this. So let's do a couple of the spreads first using the tape glider. I'll try not to mess it up. Like I said, I'm still getting used to it, so sometimes I mess up with it. But it definitely is a time saver. That's for sure. Where's the investment? Oops. And then I'll do a little one in the center. So when you've got your glue down, all you do is just put your other spread on top. I try to match the front first because that's what's most visible. So where the page is open, I try to line these up first. And remember, if it's not perfect, it's okay because we're only humans, we're not machines. Remember that. So that basically, you've got your two little pages together like so, and then they open up really easily. If there's a bit of glue, then you can always cut it off later or get rid of it. It's not perfect as you can see, but that's okay. Let's not worry about that. Now, if I want to put the single pages together, the ones that are double-sided, like these, what I will do is I'll put them side by side with, actually I'll put them this way because it's easier. I line them up carefully and then I leave just a tiny gap, like a mil in between, just so when they you close them together, they fold quite nicely. So when I glue my pages together like so, I have a few options. I could use some washi tape, of course. It is strong, but it's not intensely strong, if I could say that. So I will use it on the inside of my pages. But for the outside, I want something a little bit tougher and more resistant to make sure that the pages do not go anywhere. So for that, you can use different kinds of tape. And there's a few different things you could use. There's something like cloth tape. That's quite a strong adhesive. It's got a little bit of a texture on it. It's a little bit shiny, but you could always paint over, do something with it later. It's not a big deal. Comes in heaps of colors. I just have a white and a black one here. You could also use duct tape. Comes in various colors, the usual silver and other things. Just have a look at the hardware store. You can get really big rolls. They're not super cheap, but you get such a big roll that will last you for so long that it is worth it. But my favorite so far that I've tried is actually this kind of tape. And this is actually called a framer's tape. It's used to it's used on the back of frames when you get pictures framed. I can't speak today. And the reason I like it is because it's fairly matte. It's got a fairly neutral color. I could always paint over later, and it's also fairly strong in terms of adhesiveness. So what I'll do is simply just put and try to line up as well as I can. So like I said, you keep your 2 pages as close together. Sometimes it gets a little bit tricky. And then it doesn't matter if it's not straight. You'll see mine isn't. I'll just cut that off roughly for now. Doesn't matter if it's not quite straight, because this is going to be on the binding side, which we won't really see. And then what I'll do is I will cut off the excess, press it down nicely, and then when I fold my pages, you see here why you need that tiny gap. Hope you can pick it up. But if they were really close together, then you wouldn't be able to go any further. So that's why there's like a millimeter of space in between. And then you can use your bone folder to kind of press it down nice and hard. It actually gives it a nice little, little edge. I quite like that. So that's all I'll do. And then later on in the center, you can put some, there's a fly. You can always put some washi tape if you want. Washi tape is meant to be more decorative than structural, I guess. So that's why I like to use something a bit stronger on the outside and then the washi on the inside to make it pretty. So that's a little signature, which is the same as this. There's, those 2 little spreads we did together. And then this one we can attach later on using the same technique if we want to. So when I've got a blank page here, then I can always use one of my single ones and stick it on here. And then we'll attach all those little booklets later on at the end. So I'll stop blabbing on, and then I'll keep doing my thing. I'll see you in a moment. so I've got all my pages ready. So there's a bit of a mixture of both styles, actually 3 styles really. The first one is one with the spreads glued back to back. The other one is just with the 4 single different designs taped together on the spine. And then the third style, which is, let me find it, the one that doesn't have tape, this one. A mixture of both, so a spread and then a single glued on the front and a single glued on the back. That's why there's no tape here and it still holds. Okay, so now we've got our little singles, I guess we'll call them, single signatures here that are loose. And then this batch here is already pretty well stuck together, so I'm not going to worry about that one too much. I'll start with these ones. So you'll want to take pairs, and you know, you can rearrange them in the way that you like in terms of design, order and all that. So I'll take pairs and then I will stick them together just to make sure nothing moves later on. I'm going to use the same tape I used for there. I'm just going to do it this way first. I'll show you how I do it. Laying the tape down on the table first. But you know, you can still just put it straight on there if you like. I'm showing you both ways. It's a little bit the sticky part. Stay down, you. And then again, you can use cloth tape or duct tape, same thing. I'll tap my pages together so they sort of line up at the front here mostly. And then I will put them straight-ish down. It's not going to be perfect, but you know, roughly. Press down quite hard to make sure it glues. Oops, it's moved already. And then I'll fold this over. I press on the spine first, and then I press on the front, just like that. And I cut off the excess. Just like so. And then this bunch, this little signature is holding quite nicely. There's a little bit of a gap in the center here, but that's okay. I told you it wasn't going to be precise, so don't worry about it. We can put washi tape, or you can always readjust a little bit if it's really wonky, but we'll fix that later. So that's one bunch. I'm going to do that for all the other pairs in this little pile, and I'll be right back with you.